the hood champion boxing and sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Look at this image of Deontay Wilder knocking out Spilker. People, listen, wouldn't you like to see some of that again? Wouldn't you like to see Deontay Wilder back in the mix? I know I would. You know, Tyson Fury, amazing. Nothing bad to say about him. The man became a knockout artist in like the last two opponents, thanks to Sugar Hill. And he deserves to go into retirement. That being said, a Tyson Fury knockout is not the same as a Deontay Wilder knockout. It's not the same as a Bronze Bomber knockout. It's not the same as a Bomb Squad knockout. And I'm just being honest with you, man. Now, anyone who disagrees with me, go ahead first, man. Please subscribe and hit that like button. But get ready to leave your comments below. Because if you disagree with me, man, I have to say something has to be wrong with you. There is no one right now as a heavyweight, even if Tyson Fury is still around, that brings the excitement, the anticipation to a fight in regards to seeing a knockout like Deontay Wilder. And people, you're probably going to get to see him in the ring sooner than later, because since Tyson Fury is insistent that he's retiring and he's done with boxing, that creates a seriously interesting scenario. Very interesting. Okay? So before I go into that, I do want to say this. Deontay Wilder has earned his right to just retire and never box again. Remember, what Deontay Wilder came into this for is just to be able to take care of his daughter. I've done a video on this. A lot of people have talked about it, but I'm just going to kind of foot stomp that for those of you who forget. Because, you know, when I look at some of these chats and I listen to some of and I read some of the comments, people say, oh, Deontay Wilder's scared. He's quitting. He got beat by Fury. He's never going to recover. Look, man, Deontay Wilder is built for tough, extremely resilient on a physical level, spiritual level, emotional level, and mental level, okay? And I'm not just bigging him up because I'm a cheerleader for Wilder. No, well, I'm talking about Wilder. I feel the same way about Tyson Fury. The difference between the two is Tyson Fury came into boxing to be the greatest. Deontay Wilder came into boxing to take care of his daughter. Along the way, I think he realized, I have something here. I think he may have realized that when he won that bronze medal. But I think as a professional, I think he realized, hold on, I got something here. And then from there, it went on like, all right, my daughter's taken care of, family's all right, we work towards this title. Next thing you know, he's in there fighting Bermane Stiverne. After that, he's gone on a few years with back-to-back defenses of that belt. Runs into Tyson Fury, we know what happened in those 3 fights. So again, Deontay Wilder's primary reason for fighting, not to initially to be the greatest and unify the division. Along the way, after he checked out the box, which was the primary reason him getting to the sport, he said, okay, that's squared away. Let me see just how far I can take this. And that's what he wanted to unify the division. One man, one face, one name, and that's Deontay Wilder. That's what he wanted. So when we look at it now, with Tyson Fury leaving and retiring, right? He's the outgoing champ. It's pretty interesting because I don't think Tyson Fury is, I think he has 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in, right? So before I get to how this makes, before I get to the uniqueness of the situation, right? Tyson Fury, I don't care what he says. He won all the belts. He won all kind of belts that I've never even heard of. When he started rattling them off, the man won any and everything you could think of as a heavyweight champion, as a heavyweight fighter. He won everything. But he's never fought for the undisputed distinction. You guys realize that? He's fought to become the unified champion. He's defended the lineal championship, but he's never beat anyone well, some people say he didn't beat anyone to win the lineal championship. Some people say Vladimir had the lineal championship, and that when he beat Vladimir, that's when he became the lineal champion. But he didn't fight anyone to become the undisputed heavyweight, although he's held all the belts. That's why I think he has one foot out the door, because the wife is kind of pulling him that way. I think his heart is pulling him that way to be with family, but his mind is keeping that other foot inside of boxing. Because in his mind, he knows he didn't go and fight to become the undisputed heavyweight champion. If he never takes a chance, takes a shot, he'll miss it. So he misses 100% of shots you don't take. He has to take the shot. He has to take the shot. And I can't see him just giving up the WBC belt and saying, I'm done, without knowing what the outcome is with AJ and Usyk. Okay? So that's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to maintain his position as a WBC heavyweight champion, the lineal champion, and the Ring Magazine champion. I don't think he's going to relinquish that yet. He's going to wait and see what happens with Joshua and Usyk. And I think he's going to look at his wife and in his language say, hey, babe, I'm going to lace up the old boots again and give it a go. Because at that point, he'll truly be fighting for the undisputed distinction, which I think he'll win with no problem. I think AJ gives him more of an issue than Usyk because of just the dimensions of Tyson Fury. But I still think Tyson Fury beats him. But, anything can happen in boxing. So let's go ahead and set aside the whole Tyson Fury thing and whether he's going to, let's just say that's if he stays in. But let's say he really does come this week and say, I'm done. Mario Suleiman, thank you. It's been an honor. Represent you guys as the heavyweight champion, WBC, Ring Magazine, Lineal, whatever, whoever he has to talk to about that crap. Here, give it all back. I'm done. This is where it becomes interesting. Because now, and this is where it shifts to Deontay Wilder. Now Deontay Wilder becomes the #1 mandatory challenger for that vacant WBC belt, and he'll be in position to win it back. And the thing is, he'll be fighting either Joyce or Joseph Parker. That's what's going to happen. And I can't see Deontay Wilder knowing he has a chance to come back in his first fight back and fight for that WBC championship, which he should win. Because Joyce gets hit way too much. But Joyce has an engine. Joyce is about the same in height, about the same in reach. But we know what happened with Dominique Brazil. But we know that if someone presses Wilder and Wilder can't get them out of there, then Wilder will have a problem. But I think Deontay Wilder will clip Joyce because Joyce doesn't have a defense. Deontay Wilder doesn't hit like Daniel Dubois. Facts, people. He doesn't, okay? So we got to be fair. Joyce doesn't hit like Deontay Wilder. Daniel Dubois doesn't hit like Deontay Wilder. And in regards to Joseph Parker, Chisora doesn't hit like Wilder. AJ doesn't hit like Wilder. Junior Farr doesn't hit like Wilder. Dillian White. Some people disagree with me, but I think that Dillian White left hook has equal power when comparing him to Wilder the right hand. But for the most part, Dillian White doesn't have. I still don't think he has the same amount of power. I think he's damn near close, but not enough to just totally get you out of there the way Wilder's right hand can. But it's very close because Dillian White can crack with that left hand. So when you look at Deontay Wilder, he comes back, should have no problem getting that WBC belt back. Now look at the position he's in. He went out there, man. The man did his best to climb the mountain, get to the mountaintop, fighting Tyson Fury. We all know what happened. Tyson Fury is an amazing fighter, proven to be an amazing individual, rebounded from so much. And Wilder went out there, he took the fight to him, got close, no cigar. Now he's back in the mix. If he comes back and fights as the #1 WBC mandatory challenger, wins, now he's looking for an undisputed distinction against whoever has the belt. Let's say it's Usyk. Let's say it's Usyk. How difficult would a fight be for Wilder and Usyk? That's my thing. Just how difficult would that fight be? Does Usyk have? Because this is the thing. Luis Ortiz gave Wilder hell, but Wilder found a way. Is Usyk going to give him even more problems? So I guess the question is, who's the better boxer, Luis Ortiz or Alexander Usyk? sound amateur pedigree, the Olympics. Usyk, a little bit smaller, came up to heavyweight. We know what he did as a cruiserweight, but he was hurt as a cruiserweight. Fighting as a heavyweight, Joshua hit him with some good shots, but Joshua wasn't really committing. Luis Ortiz, almost, definitely not a cruiserweight, but not an extremely large heavyweight. But his boxing ability and IQ gave Wilder a lot of problems in the first and second fight. He got a lapse in judgment for about 1 second. That's all it took. Wilder lined him up. That's all she wrote. So if Wilder and Usyk fought, based on Usyk, a comparison between Usyk and Luis Ortiz, who do you think would win between Wilder and Usyk? Because if Luis Ortiz gave him problems, you would say Usyk should be even more problems. Some people say Usyk's a better boxer than Luis Ortiz. I don't know. I don't know if he is. In my opinion, I think it may be about the same, man. But I would say if I had to pick, I would say Usyk is a better boxer than Ortiz. If I had to pick, and that's just if like I'm gonna cut off your hand if you don't choose. But if I don't have to lose a limb, I would say it's about the same. But I think Wilder would just that experience he has from fighting with Tyson Fury, that experience that he received, man. I just think that's going to just benefit him, greatly benefit him going forward in all of his subsequent fights. I just think it is going to really benefit him. Now, if he does get an opportunity to fight Usyk, I think I'm going to go ahead and say Wilder's going to win that. I just think he's not going to sit there and allow Usyk to just come in and do what he wants. But Usyk uses good head movement, good body movement, good footwork, uses his hands. He does all these things, and he's not doing nothing. And the whole time he's putting stress on you because you don't know when he's going to pounce in, what he's going to do, because he has all these things going on, and you're watching all of that. And I think that's for Deontay Wilder. He's going to watch that because they've experienced fighting Fury with that herky-jerky style, and his experience fighting Luis Ortiz. Deontay Wilder has a lot of experience now. We can no longer say Deontay Wilder's the guy who fought tomato cans and he's just lucky because he has his right hand. We got to stop saying that, okay? We can't just sit there and think whoever gets in the ring with him is just going to get in there and clip him because Deontay Wilder's a one-trick pony. That's over now. Deontay Wilder has more than that right hand, and he has a lot more experience, and he knows what it takes to prepare. He knows how it feels to win. He knows how it feels to lose. He knows how it feels to almost nick it, but unfortunately, I think stamina issues is ultimately what cost him the loss of those Fury fights. But if he fights Usyk, I think Deontay Wilder would beat him. Now let's say AJ fights. Also, I think if he fights Usyk, the money's not as big. So if he fights AJ, I think the money is huge. I think definitely we're looking at, if these guys fought in the UK, talking about filling up the stadium, I think he could definitely fill up the stadium with 100,000 plus. That's like if Fury was to fight AJ, I think they'd easily get 100,000 people in the stadium. But I think if Wilder went over there, they would get 100,000 in the stadium. Because everybody has respect for Wilder because of how he fought, and especially in that third fight. So if they had any hate or disdain for him, I think all is forgiven. Because when you see somebody fight like that, you can't help but almost want to shake their hand. You know, like it's just, how many people would actually put it on the line like that? So I think if he fought AJ, that would be a huge fight. Okay, so we're not even going to talk about Eddie Hearn in that. Because Eddie Hearn, once he sees an opportunity to make some money, he starts doing stupid stuff, like keeps taking everything over to Saudi Arabia. Good, you know, we get it, you're chasing money, but it's time to stop that. Both of these guys can make 50 million or so right here, right there in the UK. Want to go to Saudi to try to get each of them to make 100 million. Okay, if it happens, I mean, that's great, but at the same time, you're not going to get 100,000 people to Saudi Arabia. Like, that's just not going to happen. And 100,000 people don't want to go. Maybe you get 20. But most people want, the number one thing is, not everybody can afford to go over there and get a flight and stay in hotels. And I don't know if they have the infrastructure to accommodate that kind of influx of spectators. Two, a lot of people are scared to go over there with everything as far as the shit. I don't even say the Sharia law or whatever. You know what I'm talking about if you don't look it up. And, you know, and the fact that they can go over there, man, and it's a dry country, meaning, you know, the whole thing about alcohol, that shit is not going to fly over there. And guys want to walk around drinking, you go to jail. Like, the rules are different. You know, just bringing the whole Western mentality. When I say Western, I'm talking about UK to America. You know, that stuff doesn't fly over there. They're trying to make some changes, and I think they're looking to be kind of flexible on evolving, but it's only going to go so far, and it's going to remain within the constraints of their beliefs. So I think definitely the prince over there is looking to make some changes. Matter of fact, I know he is. I read up on it. He's looking to make some changes and be more open-minded, give more rights to women, and he got a young culture over there now, and they want more than what they're getting. They see what's happening in social media across the world, and they want to live like that. So I think he's definitely working on trying to evolve the mentality, but at the same time without compromising the values. So a lot of people aren't going to want to go over to Saudi Arabia. So I think for Eddie Hearn, he's going to have to kind of find the sweet spot and figure it out. But if Deontay Wilder and AJ were to fight, we know there's going to be money there. Man, you got to give Deontay Wilder a punching chance to win that fight too. Because AJ is chinny. Deontay Wilder can take a shot, but if you catch him right, Deontay Wilder can go down too. And AJ can crack, and AJ can box. But I just think AJ is super tentative. If they had that fight, it'd be just a matter of who's brave enough to let their hands go. And the difference in that fight with AJ and Wilder, I'm going to tell you what the difference is Wilder's speed and his ability to close the distance so quickly. Wilder is more athletic than AJ. Wilder has like freakish speed when he sets up, especially the 1-2. But that right hand comes so fast, and he closes the distance so fast that I don't think Joshua will be able to react. The problem could come is if Wilder mistimes it and those stars don't line up. Joshua is a boxer puncher. Joshua can counter him. Joshua throws Evander Holyfield-esque type hooks. The best hooker in the sport, to me, it wasn't Roy Jones. No damn Jeff Lacey. The best hooker in the sport, in my opinion, is Evander Holyfield. And Anthony Joshua is another one, man, where he throws short hooks and the uppercut. And if Deontay Wilder doesn't time that right, and those stars don't line up the way he wants it, and he goes in there, Anthony Joshua, if he's brave enough to let his hands go, can get Deontay Wilder out of there, and it'll be a vicious knockout. I just think Wilder's not stupid. I think he has the experience. He's not the inexperienced Wilder who was going through his fights with Ortiz and kind of learning on the job, kind of. And I don't mean like he didn't have the amateur pedigree and an Olympian, but I mean him going to that fight with Ortiz, he went to school. He got schooled, and that's what I mean, the experience. He got schooled in that fight. I think Wilder would definitely keep him at bay, part the jab, and just wait for Joshua to make that mistake and step in the line of fire. And Deontay Wilder gonna let that hand go, and I think it's gonna be lights out for AJ. So I think Deontay Wilder's in a great position, man. But what we may end up seeing, now this is the third thing, right? So we talked about Fury, if he stays in and boxes. We talked about Wilder, if he decides to come back. He'll be looking to fight either Joyce or Joseph Parker. And then he'll go on hopefully to an undisputed distinction. We talked about if Usyk wins, we talked about if AJ wins. Now this is the other thing that could definitely happen. Deontay Wilder doesn't come back. Fury retires, they dangle that carrot in front of Wilder and say, hey man, come on back. You can get your WBC belt, but you gotta fight these two guys. Wilder may say, I don't want that. I've done what I came to do in the sport of boxing. And Wilder may just walk away. So now you have this WBC belt that's vacant. So now you have Joseph Parker and you have Joyce. They will go now and be elevated from fighting I think they're fighting for the WB. I think they're getting ready to fight for the WBA. I think they're number one, the 1 and 2 in the WBA. I'd have to double check that. I could look it up on the computer. Well, I guess I could look it up while I talk to you, right? But anyway, I did that in another video. I think it's a WBA. But right now, if Deontay Wilder doesn't come back, Joyce, and Parker are the number 1 and 2 in the WBC. So their upcoming fight in July will be for the WBC belt, not the WBA or the WB, whatever hell they fight. They're fighting for right now. I think it's all going to change. They're going to be fighting for the WBC, and it's I mean, how would that look if Joyce as the WBC champion? Who would you rather see with that belt? Joyce, Joseph Parker, or Deontay Wilder? That belt belongs with Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury looks good on him too. But outside of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, don't really want to see anybody else with the belt. Who wants to see Joyce fight Anthony Joshua or Usyk? I mean, we'd watch it because we're boxing fans, but how exciting or thrilled are you going to be to see Joseph Parker fight AJ again? You know, or Joseph Parker fight Usyk. You know, there really is, it really doesn't get your juices flowing. There's not much excitement behind those fights. But for Deontay Wilder to rise from the ashes like a phoenix and come back, clip Joyce or Parker, whoever he fights, get the WBC belt back home, and then go on out there and fight for the undisputed distinction and win. The storyline is amazing. And I think Deontay Wilder deserves it. Whether he does it or not, that's to be seen. Even Tyson Fury says he'd like to see Deontay Wilder fight whoever for it, which would be Joyce or Parker. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. I'm glad he says that. You know why he says it? Because he knows what he was dealing with in the ring. Just like no matter what Deontay Wilder said about Tyson Fury, cheating or whatever, Deontay Wilder, I think as he sits home right now, he knows that Tyson Fury is a great fighter. He knows that he just didn't have what it took to beat him in those, I would say all 3 fights, okay? He just didn't have what it took. Now, I'm not saying the fights weren't winnable for him. He just didn't have what it took in there. They have a saying. I say it all the time when I first introduce myself in these videos. You find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Deontay Wilder found a way. I don't even want to say it about him, man, but I just got to be fair. He found a way to lose, and Tyson Fury found a way to win. And Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, lost his right to complain because, especially in that last fight, he got knocked out, man. Okay? But going forward, Tyson Fury, he speaks very highly of him because he knows that Deontay Wilder and how his heart is made up and what Tyson Fury had to go through in that fight to win that fight. And that's why Tyson Fury is speaking so highly of him. Even going on to say he believes he's still the second best heavyweight in the world and he believes he knocks everybody in the division out. I don't think Tyson Fury is going to sit there and speak words he doesn't believe in. To this day, right now, and that's not because I'm talking about Wilder, but until this day, I don't think Deontay Wilder talks to Tyson Fury. I don't think he has anything to say to him because he feels deep down that Tyson Fury cheated in that second fight. And I'm not here to talk about that. I'll probably do another video about that this week because there's still a lot of people who want to go back and forth on that issue. But I think that Tyson Fury, when he speaks about Wilder, he speaks from the heart. And I truly think at some point that those guys will sit down and talk and get beyond whatever, the impediments preventing them from coming together and, being cordial. But, it is what it is, man. Joyce and Parker ranked 2 and 3 in the World Boxing Council behind Wilder as a top contender. And it looks to be like that's what they're trying to put together. But the WBC ratings as of April 22, this is where it gets really interesting. So we talked about Fury staying and fighting. We talked about Wilder fighting. We talked about Wilder not fighting. We talked about Parker and Joyce. Now we're going to talk about the WBC and the ratings since we touched upon how Deontay Wilder being number 1, Joyce and Parker being the 2 and 3. So the number 4, I'm telling you, man, the Cuban Flash. I keep telling y'all about this guy. Number 4 for the WBC. So this is the thing. And so this is the thing, right? If Deontay Wilder comes back, he's a PBC fighter. He's with Al Heyman. This is what makes this so interesting, right? Parker and Joe Joyce are not under the PBC banner. PBC likes to make fights with PBC fighters. So Deontay Wilder would more than likely, if he returned to fight, if the boxing politics get into it and PBC sticks to PBC. Wilder would he wouldn't fight Joyce or Parker. He would fight Frank Sanchez, who's a PBC fighter, or Andy Ruiz, who's a PBC fighter. And I think he beats Ruiz. I think he can beat Sanchez because Sanchez can be hit. But he's going to have a problem with Sanchez because Sanchez is super fast, super heavy-handed, and super talented. Sanchez and Luis Ortiz, that's just the kind of guy Deontay Wilder don't ever want to fight again. But I think Frank Sanchez and Deontay Wilder is a very close fight. I think like a 60-40, 60 towards Wilder. I think Wilder wins, but I think that fight is probably more dangerous for Wilder than definitely Joseph Parker. And Joe Joyce is a tough fight too. But I would say Frank Sanchez is more difficult than those guys. But Joe Joyce is a different kind of animal, man. You know, it's almost like he's built out of, like he's just this galvanized type approach to boxing. And, you know, for you to put a dent in that guy, you gotta shoot him. But Deontay Wilder has that damn 4-5 for a right hand, so I think he has what it takes. But right now, it's Wilder as the number 1, Joe Joyce as the number 2, and this for the WBC. Parker as the number 3, Frank Sanchez, the Cuba Continental America, is number 4, Andy Ruiz. Then this guy Makhmudov from Russia, Luis Ortiz as the number 7, Flip Hergovic for number 8, number 9, Michael Hunter, number 10, Tony Yoka, number 11, Otto Wallen, number 12, Ajit Kabiel, Robert Helenius at 13, Martin DeCole at 14, and Danny Dubois at 15. So when you come back up and you look at the PBC fighters over here, number 4, Frank Sanchez, and Andy Ruiz, number 5. So if Deontay Wilder returns, he's fighting Frank Sanchez or Andy Ruiz. Pretty confident of that. Very confident of that. But if the money's right and the purse bid is won by Frank Warren, then we'll probably see Deontay Wilder fighting Joe Joyce. But, you know, we'll see how that plays out. But, you know, that's how it goes. But anything after number 15, you start talking about number 16 ranked is Derek Chisora, who we know he's not going to get a fight. F.A. Akjava's at 17. And then, you know, you got a whole bunch of other names, man, but I'm not even going to worry about mentioning them. So if Deontay Wilder returns, more than likely is going to be a PBC fighter if the boxing politics get involved, or Frank Warren wins the purse bid, then it's probably going to be Joe Joyce or Joseph Parker, but probably Joe Joyce. So I think for Deontay Wilder to come back, it's going to be Joe Joyce or Frank Sanchez or Andy Ruiz. I think those are really the 3 names that probably the best chance of getting that fight. So please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. More to come. Deontay Wilder. Hey man, you know, they say speak things into existence. I think the more we talk about his name, it's a matter of time before we see him back in the ring. I can't see Deontay Wilder not giving in to the temptation to come back and fight for that belt. They just, basically, they're almost like giving it to him. It's like, hey, it's here if you want it. Come fight for it. We think you'll win. We like the way you represented the WBC for all these years. Tyson Fury's out of here, we want you back. And why not? It's like, you know, working somewhere, and then these guys realize they made a bad call. They come back and say, hey, we want to bring you back on the job. Matter of fact, we're going to give you, you know, we're going to give you 100% pay raise on top of that. You know, that's basically what he's going to walk into. Because Wilder's going to walk into $30 million paydays. You know, I'm letting you know right now. Wilder's going to come and walk into $20-30 million paydays. So he deserves it, and I can't see him not. I can see him not taking the money because of how he's built. His core values are solid, but at the same time, come back for a half a fight. It's not going to be like fighting Fury. You're coming back like Conor McGregor says, a half a fight to get 20-30 million. You know, I just can't see Wilder not taking that. The way he came up in his background, where he is in his career and at his age, talking about, you know, generational wealth, can't see him coming back and just pushing and pushing and pushing until eventually, you know, it's like, all right, this is it. Maybe he takes another loss. But as long as he's in the position he's in right now and he comes back and he keeps winning, Don't see why this man keep going on. He's in a position to go on and become a billionaire, man. From boxing, not his outside endeavors, if he chooses to. And I think he should. I'd like to see that for him and his family. And just like Tyson Fury, if he chooses to fight, talking about $20, $30 million paydays until he decides to call it quits. Anthony Joshua keeps fighting in Saudi Arabia, he'll probably become a billionaire too. But Deontay Wilder needs to come back. I want to see him, and I can't see him walking away from this opportunity to get that WBC belt back and fight for the undisputed distinction. Like I was saying about 2 minutes ago, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans. I appreciate your support as always. You guys keep safe, and I'm in the breeze.